Welcome and welcome back. Today, we want to talk to you and dive a little bit deeper in understanding where you might be with your kettlebell training. If you're a beginner, intermediate, and advanced, what all this could mean, and some possible options for you to think about in order for you to determine where you're at. Roger?
Yes.
What would you say? It's great to be beginners. It's great to be advanced. I mean, we're here. What if I was a beginner? How would I even know if I'm a beginner?
And I think that's really what we're trying to, the question we're trying to ask is what sorts of questions can you ask yourself for self-evaluation? Whether you're training yourself or whether you're a coach, what sorts of questions might you ask? Obviously, there's no objective standard. Obviously, if you take a certification, they have standards and you either complete them or you don't. And within that system, you are considered
better or not, or
whatever
stage.
But outside of a system, I know lots of people who have certifications who don't understand the material and can complete the material but don't have mastery over the material. So there's going to be a range of these things. So I guess if you're a beginner, some things to think about. Do you understand the nature of everything you're trying to do? Do you when, let's say you're doing a kettlebell swing, does it feel right? The answer is usually no. If you're a beginner, you have to think about a lot about what you do. You usually have some sort of specific intention behind your practice, like, I got to keep my arms connected to my body more, or
drive with more legs.
Yeah, whatever it happens to be. So you're probably going to have a movement objective that is separate from the overall exercise that you've got to integrate into, to make your movement better. So, generally you're kind of struggling with the material, you're figuring it out, you're working with it one moment at a time, and you have very few, you're going to say things like, "Oh, that one felt good."
Yeah. Oh, that was the best one I've done in a while.
So that's what it means to be a beginner. Now, before we really get too far into this too, I want to talk about two things. One, that you can be different places with different skills. You can be, an advanced kettlebell swinger, but a beginner kettlebell presser.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a theoretical understanding that's advanced, but a physical capacity that's diminished. I know of some really, really great kettlebell coaches, strength coaches in their 60s and 70s who can really just take apart all kinds of kettlebell moves. They understand them conceptually, but after 10 hip replacements,
they're not doing the 10,000 swing challenge.
No, they just can't do it.
Yeah.
Some of them can, some of them can't.
Oh, so,
yeah. You can be at different places. So you want to evaluate yourself both physically and mentally, especially if you're a coach. I know a lot of coaches who really have the physical part down, and you ask them about the theory behind kettlebells, and they're more beginner to intermediate.
Yeah, and even in that context, if you're a coach and you have somebody with some of those limitations, are you able to adjust that skill necessary? Be bold enough to say that's just not for you, we'll find an alternate? That's going to be a factor too.
Sure.
And if you're not able to do that, chances are you're probably a beginner. Now, let's say somebody wants to be an individual and they've got a little bit better understanding of the skills. What other thing, or an intermediate?
You guys knew what he meant.
You got me here. We don't have time to reshoot this. So, but if they want to be intermediate, what would be the catalyst to the next step for them?
Well, I would say some signs that you're an intermediate is you understand what you need to do. You're still striving to improve some things. For the most part, your skills in low reps are competent. You may run into some issues when you get into higher volume. I notice a lot of intermediates kind of work out it's almost like a gamble. Today
gonna be a good day.
It felt good when I was doing it, but let's see how I feel tomorrow.
Yeah.
So intermediate, you're starting to develop a familiarity. You're starting to work with it. I think one of the biggest differences is you understand when you make mistakes when you're an intermediate. That clean didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Now you may not know how to fix it, and you may not know how to even clean ideally, but you did something.
Yeah, it's that was a little off.
Yeah.
And even to a testament of that, just because you guys want to know that we are human, I would say that's kind of where I'm at in the press, because I get it. I get all the mechanics of taking all the steps, but my physical capacity sometimes I can't connect them. So I would put myself in that position, so that's a good thing to think about.
So, a lot of intermediates, when people are training, a lot of coaches are in that situation with their coaching. They can see a problem. If you're a coach and you can identify problems with kettlebell skills, and your coaching consists of, you did this wrong, stop it, or you did this wrong.
Like a bad dog?
Here's a drill. Generally, if that's kind of your method, you're probably intermediate.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand what's wrong. You may have a drill that you've been taught that fixes it, but there's still a lot more nuance that's left that you can get. So those are probably some hallmarks that you're in that intermediate stage. And then, of course, we go to advanced.
Yeah, advanced. That's cream of the crop, creme de la creme, tippity top.
Any more?
That's all I got. So you go.
So, when you're advanced, when you do, let's say swings, I'm comfortable doing swings, 2 arm, 1 arm. I feel good doing them at most weights. If I do, let's say 100 swings, I can add those to the end of a workout. I feel good. I don't feel it in my back. I don't feel anything goofy in my hips. I feel strong after. I feel like I pumped myself up. Whereas when I was a beginner or intermediate, the sheer volume of work would have killed me. When I was intermediate, I don't know how this is going to feel on my knee. Sometimes it would bother me, or my back. I really didn't know. But when you're advanced, things feel good. Not everything's going to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to have some things that don't work quite right. My snatch technique, for example, on my right arm is more solid than my left, which is common. I had an old injury on the left side that I never really took care of. And there are times when it bothers me and my snatches feel really disconnected. Generally, if I go 28, if I'm 24, 28, I'm fine. But above that, with my left arm, I don't always feel great.
Yeah.
So then I'll kind of go back and forth between those two. So, but generally speaking, if you're doing the work, you feel good, the reps feel right, you can spot problems and fix problems, and you understand the nature of the problem.
Yeah, why it's happening.
Then that's when you're kind of putting yourself, in that advanced category. If you have 6 people, you're teaching each of those 6 people how to swing the same way. Odds are you're going to be teaching something that's a little incompatible with some of them, whether it be physically, mentally, experientially. Something's going to be off.
Yeah.
And when you get to be advanced, you understand when to stay out of the way. You don't just point out mistakes. You point out what they do right.
Yeah.
And you understand exactly why the problem is occurring.
Yeah.
And you can formulate a plan about, how do I fix this?
Yeah, exactly. And be able to communicate that to the person. And then in context, like if you're somebody that's actually doing the work or being trained, you're more advanced when you're receptive to these higher level details and understanding look, it's not just about how much I can get done, but it's, again, bringing back to understanding of why you're doing it, what you're doing it. Are you building yourself up, or are you still walking away a little bit torn down from that? And I think that was something that you mentioned earlier that I thought was really cool, to kind of indicate where you're at along the spectrum.
Yeah, when you get a bunch of more advanced kettlebell practitioners together, and one person will give someone else the smallest little thing, it's like they're just super happy.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really? I never thought about that. That's awesome.
This is cool.
They get super excited, and if you get excited over something that makes a millimeter difference, you're probably advanced.
Well, in fairness though, but if you're also beginner and intermediate and you get a little bit of help, you probably feel good too.
You feel good. You just
but the level of detail, the level of detail
value
could change. All right. Well, I think that kind of gives a good guideline as to a starting place to try and evaluate where you're at. And obviously there's, you can reach out to professionals and get some opinions from them, or take some standardized type exercise challenges, or whatever the system that you're going through provides can help kind of bring up some questions that you can ask and get answered. Will help you along the way in getting better in your stages.
Yeah. And one little tip, if you're looking for a coach, and you want to know where your coach is, you need to ask a lot of why questions. And your coach is not going to know the answer to everything. And even really advanced people don't know. Your questions just may be stupid. And they just don't want to tell you that.
Yeah. Or there is no dumb question. I think I heard that.
There are dumb questions, and you probably asked them. Anyway.
Me?
Oh, you too, definitely you. But if you really want to know the level of your coach, You want to know why they're recommending a particular thing for a technique. You know, why am I swinging to this height? Why am I moving my hips in this way? When you have an advanced coach, either A, they know the answer, or B, they're going to find the answer very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's
at least admit to you, like, hey,
Sure.
I'm gonna find out. You know, no biggie. You're not hurting yourself or whatever, so we can keep going. You know?
Yeah, but that's important. You know, the more detail people have, the more understanding they have, the farther along they are in the process.
Yeah. All right. That it? Stay strong.